A few weeks ago, I treated myself to something very special, a day learning from a fellow photographer who does very different stuff. Let me show you.
This is the work of Shona Perkins, who goes under the name on social media of My Beautiful Scotland. Now, recently she had her first exhibition with artist Fee Dixon, whose style and artistic vision echoes Shona's. She focuses on intentional camera movement to bring her subjects to life. Locations that for many landscape photographers will be an absolute delight, but the freshness of Shona's approach brings a uniqueness that I really wanted to explore for myself this year. And as I found out recently, I needed to make sure that I translated her lessons and made it my own. Hence, at some ungodly hour in September, I found myself with this extraordinary woman on West Wittering Beach, slowly moving my camera around so I could start to learn how to see things differently. Now, I have had a crack at this lark before. It involved me wildly moving my camera in different directions and hoping for the best. So, for example, here's my attempts at trees. Here, I tried some intentional camera movement in my own back garden, and when there wasn't any wind, well, I decided to get creative myself. That was successful.
Is that cheating?
Oh dear. Recently, I had a few days in Ireland, and at Shona's suggestion, I went to Inch Beach, where I tried out for myself the techniques she taught me.
The thing is, when you save your hard-earned cash and invest in yourself in a workshop, you come away all enthused, which is fantastic. Problem is, the enthusiasm can dwindle rather quickly, and you've got to practice your lessons that you learnt. That's partly why I'm here, and no doubt I'm going to have to go back to my Sussex beach as well and give that a go.
The problem is, to watch someone do this type of intentional camera movement is intrinsically boring. So you could just sit there watching me, as you are now, wiggling away, and well, yes.
God, this is tricky.
But you wouldn't know it, because it's really quite boring to watch. Even when the Maestro herself was filming me, I was focusing so hard on trying not to get it wrong that, well, that's as exciting as my commentary gets. And add to that an extraordinary failure rate.
Oh, it's official. I'm giving up. On the beach, too contrasty, very lovely. I know exactly what I was doing if it were the ordinary landscape photography. And here, there's just no light. And what I need ideally is some light sweeping on these, just so that it looks like it gives it texture and interest.
So here's what I achieved under Shona's tutelage. Remember, I am a novice. There were two shots in particular that I'm proud of and taught me key lessons. Let me explain. This low tide pre-dawn shot was taken using a very different technique to what I'd normally have used. Normally, I'd have just swooshed from left to right, and I would have lost detail and definition. Here, I slowly panned and did a little wiggle on my upper half. If I didn't do that wiggle, there'd be too much texture in that foreground sand. Getting up into those dunes was an unexpected joy, particularly when that lovely foreboding sky came and the sun just gently kissed those grasses. Now, normally I'd have done a straightforward swoosh up or down, but a little bouncing action ensured that I maintained texture and personality. Now, this one was a surprise. Midday, high tide, high sun. Nobody gets good stuff in those circumstances, but hey, following that wave in from right to left just worked. Everything else I took that day was just an experiment. However, when I went away to other places, I couldn't make anything work, so I needed to come back to regroup and actually remember the lessons Shona taught me.
Right, so if I go on photo pills, just calibrate for a second. Sunrise is going to be there, directly ahead, not over there. We are at West Wittering Beach, half an hour before alleged sunrise. There's a few breaks in the clouds, but nothing much, which is a bit disappointing because in theory it was sort of 63% high cloud last night. Oh well, I'm going to have a look at Shona's website and just see what she does on a grey day. Right, so this is her website. Can't accept and close those. And this is her work. So I'm looking for stuff that might be grey. West Wittering Beach is huge. The tide goes out for a very long way, and if you have a low tide combined with a morning, quite often you can get some beautiful striations and patterns going off into the distance. This is why this beach is spectacular for this kind of stuff, particularly if it's going to be combined with a lovely sunrise. That's not today though. So what I'm noticing and looking at is this type of pool area coming up here. Just be very careful I don't stand in whatever it is I want to photograph. But this area here in particular is looking quite interesting. I need to take little subtle movements.
Well, this is my pre-sunrise sweep and wiggle. I'm not sure that's a technique, but I'll patent it. I'm heading from the darker areas towards the lighter areas and just get that subtleness of colour.
I thought that coming back to West Wittering might actually trigger some of my memories, and it really is. So there's certain lessons that are coming back to me that when I went to other places I totally forgot. However, I'm finding one thing quite difficult. When I'm remembering the movements to do, I'm finding, because I've got a 2-second timer, I'm doing them really well for 2 seconds and then I kind of lose it, start wiggling my bottom, which is not what I need to do. I need to make sure the movements are the top half of my body, and I'm intentionally doing it whilst holding my camera quite firmly. So just at the moment look like I'm wiggling, and the results are saying that as well. But we have got some colour coming in the sky. So welcome, crack on and focus.
This shot, taken about 10 minutes later, hones in on one particular area in the previous photo. And yet again, I am using my slow sweep and wiggle technique.
While I'm looking for lovely things going off into the distance, my long-suffering beloved is conveniently pointing out that the tide is coming in quite fast. And as you can see, it is very, very flat here. As my husband gave me the warning, I found this lovely graphic shape behind me, which works really quite well. But as you can probably see, it's filling up with water quite fast. So we do need to move.
Not before I take another sweep and wiggle. Oh, come on, baby. This one's all right. This one, yeah.
In West Sussex, this beach is pretty unique, in part for its vast expanse of sand, its beach huts, but also when you're looking at positions of sunrise and sunset, it pretty much accommodates at most of the times of the year. The downside is it's a little bit expensive to park. Also, in the summer months, well, the people that live here are very lucky and very unlucky because the queues coming in are to behold. That's all I'll say. In the space of 10 minutes, everything that I was shooting has disappeared. And there's one reason that concerns me. I get so hooked up in doing photography. I wouldn't have noticed that had my long-suffering beloved not shouted out, "Watch out for the tide." I wouldn't have noticed that at all until it was a little bit too late. Now that wind is pretty strong and we are rather chilly, so splish. So we're going to go back for some lovely breakfast because after all this was your birthday weekend. How's it been?
Oh, yes, chilly this morning.
Dearest, can we go to the Outer Hebrides at Easter?
No.
Need to work a bit harder.
Well, there's no doubt that returning to the scene of my lesson has helped reignite that flame, and my lack of success that I've had, well, that is my fault. I hadn't really practiced. And if I want to be match fit for my impending Outer Hebrides visit, well, I'd have to just keep that ICM candle burning bright by actually practicing.
I think I'm going to come back here when I'm in the mindset of being a landscape photographer, not an ICM trialer.
Now, ICM is not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm pleased I've learnt some of the basic skills to bring a scene to life in a very different way. And I'm even more pleased that I could still sort of do it, even when that extraordinary woman wasn't with me.
Well, I am rather pleased that I was able to return to the scene of when I had my first Shona Perkins My Beautiful Scotland lesson, because I was able to recall her voice in my ear, giving me a little bit of coaching and put it into practice so I can then transfer it to other settings a little bit better than I have done in recent months. Thank you for joining me today, and may I just say thank you for all your support in 2024. It has genuinely meant a lot. See you in 25. Take care.